Good morning, everybody. I'm Melissa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials. Welcome to our new video space. So we have an actual space now, and really excited about that. And so we also have some new equipment. So what that means is that you get to see how the fall allergies are affecting my my puffy eyes because it's a lot clearer than it is normally. Anyways, today we're going to talk about Michaelmas. So it's coming, and whether you're new to Waldorf or new to celebrating Michaelmas, or you've been doing it for a long time, I'm hoping that that this video will sort of help you get some ideas, some thoughts. So also I wanted to say really fast, we're live on Instagram today. Good morning, Instagram followers. And we're live on Facebook today. Good morning, Facebook. We will be back live as well on YouTube next week. So we have some new tech. We're working with easier ways to do everything all at once. So, except for Instagram, because they like to be their own thing, which is totally fine. But it will make it easier. And so we watch for that. We'll have... if you follow us on YouTube, we will actually have some reminder videos or some reminder notifications that will go out to you. Anyway, so let's go. We're going to talk about Michaelmas today. So really and truly, Michaelmas is the feast day or the celebration of St. Michael. And you might go, but I don't do the saints. I'm not Catholic. Why would I do this? Why would I bring this into my homeschool? And so, especially if you're new to Waldorf, you might not realize what a big deal the Mccomas or Michaelmas celebration is, and how often it's utilized as sort of this great casting out of negativity and casting out of the dragons. So dragons is really what the really sort of conquering these inner dragons. So you may not realize that it's a pretty big thing, and that's okay. And it's okay that even if you do realize it, you can decide, hey, I don't really resonate with that. Totally okay too. There are no rules here. No rules when it comes to this. And remember, especially most of our fellowship homeschools, so you get to make the rules. It's you. It's all you. You get to make the rules. So I do want to say there is a resource page that we set up for this festival, and it's got some freebies on it. If you go to waldorfessentials.com/Michaelmas, you'll see we have some resources there. So I thought first we would talk about what the festival is, and then we'll talk about age appropriateness for each festival. And then I'll just sort of be grabbing comments as we go. So if you've got comments or questions, please ask them. Looks like we've already got a comment here. The Knitting Pumpkin says we planned it for a one day festival, then realized why you suggest taking a week to celebrate it. Really and truly, I think that it's one of my favorite festivals, and in our home we touch on all of the traditional Waldorf festivals throughout the year, but there are a couple that we resonate very deeply with. Michaelmas being one of them, the Lantern Walk being one in so St. Martin in November, and we also do a lot of Day of the Dead stuff to remember our heritage. And at the end of October, beginning of November, we also really highly resonate with St. Nicholas and Advent, and then some of the spring festivals as well. So this is like the beginning of high festival time, and that can also be like overwhelming because there's so many of them, especially if you're homeschooling at the same time. So my suggestion to you is plan it all out. So when I put together a festival planner, what I usually will put together is
say we're breaking up.
Uh-oh. Well, we're doing okay here on this end, I think.
Yeah.
When I put together a festival planner, I talk about I might so if you're gonna maybe take a sheet of paper and write this out. So I'm gonna write what the festival is and what it means to you. Sort of put together any background that you are going to want to capture as far as like making sure that you understand the festival. Maybe it's a podcast or a video we've done. In fact, we did a video on celebrating festivals with big kids that had a ton of information in it back a few weeks ago. So you might want to check that out. You'll want to look at any library book recommendations that you might want to pick up. You'll want to think about sort of how you're going to bring it to your children. You'll want to think about menu. So what are you going to eat at this festival, even if it's just in your home? We have a co-op group that we celebrate with now, but for many, many years, we have to celebrate it by ourselves. And so, and that can be a really amazing family gathering. You'll want to think about, again, how you're going to bring it to your children. Any songs you might want to sing, any verses you might want to include that week. And so really start to think about all of these things as you're starting to plan your festivals. I do that sort of festival planning for every festival we do. And if you are a member of our Planning for Peace group or our Thinking, Feeling, Willing program, which would be in Mom Lesson 6, we have a festival planner in there. There's also a festival planner in the Mom Lesson on Festivals if you are, again, a Thinking, Feeling, Willing member. So, and I have to comment over here. My dear friend, Chris, I love you. She's on Instagram. I am not perfect, but I am amazing at festivals. Thank you, Chris. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. So, what is Michaelmas all about? So, at the core of it, and why do we celebrate St. Michael and St. George at the same time? Why do we celebrate these dudes at all? Because absolutely there will be a group of moms that are like, I don't even want to. Where are we celebrating these guys? So I am going to encourage you. One, you can always, if you're doing a play or a story, change it to Georgina from George if you'd like. That's totally fine if you are sort of telling a story. In fact, when we cast our little play that I'm going to talk about in a minute for our co-op, I left it open. It could be a female or a male role, whoever wanted it. It was fine. I figure everybody gets a chance to be a hero. It doesn't matter what your sex is. So what is the story about? So at the core, Saint Michael is the archangel. He wasn't as Michael. He wasn't a person. He is the archangel that casts Satan or Lucifer out of heaven. So that's the scriptural or biblical background to this festival. And you might be thinking, okay, but I don't do the Bible. I don't do those things. I don't do religion. That's okay. You can absolutely connect more with St. George if you'd prefer. The St. George story is a little bit different. He's like somebody who's, who's saving the princess from the dragon. You don't even have to save anybody. It's really and truly at its core a festival about casting out dragons, casting out negativity, casting out, and if you want to think of it opposite a bit of Lent, which happens in, before Easter. So in Lent, you're giving something up generally. Most Catholics do give something up for Lent. And so it's kind of opposite of that. As far as times of the year, we've got, this is around the fall equinox, and Lent is generally around the spring equinox. So they sit opposite each other that way as good times to sort of recall or think about, reflect on things that maybe we want to cast out, things that maybe there are behaviors that we have, or maybe there's boundaries that we need to make, or maybe we want to be a better mom or be a better wife or partner. Excuse me. Maybe we want to do better with our homeschooling. Maybe we want to do better with our planning. There are many things that you can set as your intention as you are sort of going through this, as you are celebrating this feast day. So I would very much encourage you, as much as you're bringing it to your children, to get deeply into this festival. Don't do anything halfway. Only celebrate festivals if you can deeply get into them and really feel like you're taking it on. That's what will be meaningful for your children. That's what will end up being the what you end up bringing to them and what they will remember, and they will remember it through their adulthood. I have adult children that go, "You're doing that without me today? Really?" Yes, you live far away. How am I going to do it with you here? So really and truly think about these festivals and how you're bringing them to your family. And I dare even say, if you do not resonate with it, skip it. They'll know you don't resonate with it. They will know that it doesn't feel good to you. So don't bring it if you don't feel really good about it. So how does that sort of translate into stories for children? So I absolutely tell the story of for our faith background, of Michael hurling Lucifer out of the garden, or out of heaven. For our faith background, it's kind of an important story, and so we tell that story. And for our faith background, we also really believe that Michael had a really important role in heaven. And so it is a very important holiday for us. Let me pause for a second. Is everything okay on your end?
Yeah, it was.
Any comments or questions anybody has about this?
No questions. What
You
happened
fixed
must
your,
have been a glitch because
it's fixed itself. Okay,
Yeah.
very good. I always love to hear that. So, so for us, we celebrate it in a very, this is who Michael is, this is who he is to us, and this is why he's an important situation. So we talk about that with all ages. With all ages, we talk about that from the time they're very little, all the way through. So, like I said, it's an important day for us. We also tell the St. George story. So the St. George story, we have written our own St. George story for younger children. In fact, you will find it on our on the page that I mentioned. So it's waldorfessentials.com/Mccomas, in case you're joining us late. And so on that page, you're going to find a George and the Baby Dragon story. So we have taken the our gnome friends that sort of live in the forest with Super Sam, although Super Sam is not part of this story, but they all live in the same forest, and they are plagued by a baby dragon who will not stop blowing fire at them. And so they're plagued by this baby dragon, and the gnomes are trying to figure out what to do, and some brave gnomes decide they're going to go ask the king for some help.
Other question.
Okay. Should I finish this? I'm going to finish the story first.
That.
Okay, I'll finish the story first. So the brave gnomes, they decide they're going to go ask the king for some help. And the king, who is wise and amazing, his name is King Melchizedek. And so he's wise and old. And he says to them, "Don't worry, I gotcha. I know this human boy. His name is George. And he will help us. I helped George when he was really little, and he will help us." And one of the gnomes are like, "But wait a minute. They're humans that can see us? What?" And he says, "Yes, this boy is pure of heart. He can see us." And so they raise this white flag for help. And pretty soon here comes George, and he says, "What can I do to help?" And the king says, "Well, there's this dragon, and this dragon keeps coming and scaring the young gnome children, and burning up our fields. And hello, we need to eat this winter. So could you please help us not have this dragon problem?" So George decides, yes, I'm going to go and find this dragon. And this is a story, like I said, for the younger set. So this would be under 9s. The older kids enjoy it too, but for the under 9s, we redeem the dragon. We redeem the dragon because they're still very much so in a place of beauty and a place of love, and they haven't crossed that threshold of the 9-year change yet. They haven't sort of crossed that space of seeing the world from a negative place. Now, I will pause right here and say that if you have a child that suffered some abuse or some trauma, your child might need to vanquish their own dragon even if they're younger, just as a therapeutic space is a therapeutic space.
That's a good segue into this question.
Okay.
Natasha Bell says, "Do you talk about Satan to little kids when he comes across evil in the world?" My 5-year-old, and he is an empath.
Oh, okay, so she's got a 5-year-old that's really in tune. I talk about Lucifer as being our brother, as being somebody that is still a child of God that was cast out of heaven for rebellion. That's what that, we are pretty, in our faith, we discuss that from a pretty young age. And but we don't discuss it in a hellfire and brimstone kind of way. We discuss it more in a like what the actuality of that is. And so I think that as they get older, you can definitely get deeper into that. But we talk about it more in and we can't get along with anybody. So he doesn't get to play because he can't get along with anybody kind of situation. And not in a yucky, nasty, punitive way. More in a this is right, this is wrong way. So again, you should do what works for your family. You should do what resonates with your faith base. If this does not resonate with you at all, you should absolutely come up with something better for you that works for you. Does that help?
Yes, there's a couple of things.
Okay.
Peggy McLaughlin, she says, I love that story. I'm now in the place of bringing them to my granddaughter. That she's referred to the story we were telling.
The baby dragon story?
Yes, and Kate Warden says, I'm excited to bring St. Michael to my older one this year. We have used St. George as they have been in the early years.
Yep. So definitely, I think that St. Michael is, especially if you're working the Waldorf curriculum with a third grader, I think that and you're already sort of working through the Old Testament as far as like Hebrew times and things like that. I think it's a good, important time to bring it with that 9-year change. Like I said, we bring it earlier, not in a hellfire and brimstone kind of way, but we definitely bring it in a, hey, we all have things that we want to give up that we wish we didn't do. All of us, even our little ones. Like Soraya was saying, I'm really going to try to not interrupt so much because it's something that she knows is a behavioral point for her because she gets so excited about everything that she has to interrupt. She has to interrupt. She thinks she does. Although I did try to tell her when she turned 5, you know that when you're 5, that means you can't interrupt anymore. She was like, what? Until she realized, oh, wait a minute, Mom was just telling me that to help me not interrupt. But so the rest of the story. So George goes off and he finds the dragon, and he brings the dragon back, and he puts a muzzle on the dragon. And at first the gnomes are like, what has he got on his face? Like, what the heck? And George says, oh, it's because I put this muzzle on him. He asked me to put the muzzle on him because he has the hiccups. And whenever he has the hiccups, he breathes out fire. And he has been coming here to try to get some healing from the king because he knows the king will help him. And every time he gets close, he has the hiccups and he burns the fields. And he scares you guys. So I put the muzzle on so he could get close to the king, so the king could help him. So the king comes through the mass of little gnome children, and he pulls out his healing bag with some healing crystals, and he touches the dragon on his nose, and the hiccups are gone. And so that's a perfect place to take it for young children. Redemption of the dragon, redemption of things that we are trying to cast out, redemption because we're getting better, we're changing things. And it's a perfect place to take it. In the end, the dragon asks to stay in the woods with the gnomes, promises not to burn anything else down, and asks if he can hang out to help make bread every week. And the gnomes are like, woohoo! And they make dragon bread to celebrate the dragon. So that's the story that we tell the young ones, and it's the story that's on the link that I shared. And we also have it in play format. So our co-op has been doing this play for a few years now, and there's a cute little song on there that is on the link that my dear co-leader Kimberly wrote, and she's magnificent when it comes to putting words to music. So it's a simple, cute little song. It's a song that we sing before the play and after the play, and all sort of through the circles that we have during the autumn season. So that's the story and the song element of it. Would you have some more?
Peggy McLaughlin says, Melissa, you recommend always pre-read your stories, yes?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am. Always. Always pre-read the stories, even if I wrote it. I suggest you pre-read it. I get some hate mail sometimes. I can't believe you wrote this. I go, didn't you read it beforehand? Like, you got to read it beforehand. Especially if it doesn't resonate with you. You want to have the opportunity to alter it. Now, I will say, when it comes to, and this is a totally side note, and we can talk about this in another video. When it comes to those fairy tales, though, pre-read it. Try not to change any archetypes because that messes with the whole story. So you can soften some things. But there's like a black and white issue that they're still in when they're in first grade. So you kind of need to leave those fairy tales alone. But definitely pre-read them. So you're not reading it and then stumbling because you go, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to use those words. And then stumbling. So make sure you pre-read it. Make sure you digest it for yourself. And then when you've digested it and it sort of lives in you, then you can bring it to them. And you're not reading it. You are telling it. And that's really the best way, is if you're telling it. So let's see. I was trying to think. With regards to the dragon as, as they get older. So they've done this redeeming of the dragon when they're young. And then as they get older, we start to sort of, like I said, vanquish this dragon. Because the older we get, the harder it feels to conquer things. The harder it feels to sort of let go of things that we're really struggling with. And that goes for adults too. So I absolutely take part in this festival, and we encourage any adult children that come to visit that we do the same thing. And we might do some celebrations a little bit early. We have my middle son is coming for a visit tomorrow. Yay, Jacob. I'm actually hoping that Jacob will do a video with me. So, but I haven't asked him yet. So I think I will ask him when he gets here tomorrow. I think it would be really good, especially for those of you who have followed us for a long time, to sort of see this child that was my hardest child to teach, to see what a magnificent human being he has turned into. So, yeah, I'm gonna hopefully, try to get him to do a little video with me. So stay tuned for that sometime this week. It'll be impromptu, I'm sure. So let's see. What about menu when it comes to this festival? So dragon bread is iconic. It is iconic, not just Waldorf, but kind of iconic European when it comes to Michaelmas. A lot of people will make their sweet, and there have been years when we've done it sweet, more like cinnamon roll style. And then there have been years when we've done it more savory. Like there was a year that I found teeny tiny pepperoni. And we made dragon scales out of its back. It was, remember that one, honey? Do you remember that dragon bread that we made?
Yeah.
At the other house, and we made, it was a big deal. And he sort of had the fire breathing out of his mouth was, like some great marinara sauce. And it was a really good dragon bread that year. And we have had years, remember when we lived in Idaho Falls, especially if my dear friend Chris is still listening, when we lived in Idaho Falls, the gals at Great Harvest Bakery made our dragon bread for us. And I remember calling, and there was some college students. And I say that to Chris because Chris owns a Great Harvest in Rexburg and a Great Harvest Bakery in Rigby. And so if you are in that area, go visit my friend Chris. She's an amazing human being. But I had called, and they had some college students that were art students, and they were like, we'll take that on. So they made the most gorgeous dragon bread for us one year. Do you have questions on that side?
Oh, a few things. Peggy McLaughlin thanks you about the advice. Says, I followed your advice a long time now, and it's never led me wrong.
Thanks,
Aaron
Peggy.
Snizek says, I memorized quite a few of our favorite stories in kindergarten and first grade verbatim. I made sure to find the very books I read as a child because of the words.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely when you have books like that. If you have books that you remember from your childhood, call your mother and ask her if she still got them. I have a Hans Christian Andersen that I have had since I was 1.
And we're having a bit of a discussion because the TFW is
it's there. Backwards. Okay, so here's the deal.
But I bet on Instagram all the gnomes with the months are swapped.
They are.
So we're laughing a bit because that looks a little bit like WTF.
You know how hard it is. Yeah. But you know what? How many days has it been where you're like, WTF? What the heck? It's a great way to start your Monday. So yeah, the problem is on one camera it's mirrored and on the other camera it's not. So in Instagram now it's all mirrored. So now when you read it, you're gonna be like, what the heck is that?
We'll figure it out.
We are. We'll figure it out by next week. We're trying to sort out some new tech, and what's really funny, y'all, that don't do this on a regular basis, is guess what? Every single one of them is different. Every single one has some different rules. And so we're trying to make sure that we get all of that sorted. But anyway, so that is Michaelmas or Michaelmas, however you want to call it. And I really hope that you'll take this festival and you'll have fun with it. Because even though there are some kind of dark things that we're doing, or some more serious things with regards to casting things out and giving things up, and I will say, I would not have a conversation with a 3-year-old about giving things up. I would have more conversation like, hey, how about we are going to celebrate this festival and we're going to try to share more. We're going to try to clean up more. Or we're going to, and just sort of like think about things in that way, not in a punitive way, in a very sweet, loving family way. That's really the best way to sort of go about it. So, yeah, I think we're good on that one. Any other questions or comments on the Facebook end?
No.
All right. I think we're done for today. If you want to know what's coming up next week, our dear Instagram followers, we will start putting a message up in our stories and on our feed for what's coming up the next Monday. We'll probably start to try to do that on Friday or Saturday so that you can start marking your calendar. But you can mark your calendar every Monday, 6 a.m. Pacific. We're always here. I think in 2 years we've missed twice, and I've always recorded a video and put it up later. So please join us every week. We will, like I said, be back on YouTube next week, and yeah, we've got some great things coming. We have the whole lineup for all fall all laid out already. And so if there's a topic you want us to cover, please message us, DM me if you are on Instagram, PM me if you are on Facebook, and just say, hey, I'd love it if you would cover X, Y, and Z. And I will either point you to the one that we've already done, or I'll put it on our list. So, and sometimes you get me and Eric and I, at the camera together, especially if we're talking about parenting and partnering stuff. So if you've got questions in that realm, please let us know as well. And we are happy to cover it. All right, I guess we'll see y'all next week. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you've started school, I hope you're breathing out and you're not stressing. If you haven't started school yet, I hope you're breathing out and not stressing. We've been doing some light stuff, and we're actually going to go north and have some fun today. The fun that includes mouse ears. And we're going to go and sort of breathe out and have a fun time. My son comes tomorrow, so that's going to be a crazy week, and but a fun week. And then we're going to really hit it hard next week. Really hit it hard, which, for me does not mean hitting it hard.
Oh, I got
it
a
means
question.
we're taking care of business. But one more question.
CG Go says, thank you for putting this out. Could you talk a little bit about presenting this to a 5-year-old when we are not religious?
Yeah, I would. I'm guessing you caught us late, so what I would do is I would use the St. George story instead. So our link, and I'm not sure if Kelly is in the comments over on Facebook, but it is waldorfessentials.com/Michaelmas. And the link to the story, as well as the play layout, is there, and the dragon song is there. So, and as well as my favorite verse from Michaelmas. So anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you later. Bye.
Oh.